Welcome. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you focused and not thinking about whatever's bothering you these days? I'm not here to test you. Please relax. Let your thoughts come and go and listen as they fade away in the distance. For better or for worse, this is where your life has brought you. Looking at a screen, listening to me. Imagine, for a moment, that you've just had a child. It's healthy, but unfortunately also completely blind. For their whole life, they will live in the dark and not see a thing. Their perception of reality is something that you might never be able to comprehend. How would you describe the world to them? What can't be touched or heard, smelled or tasted? How would you describe sunlight? By what it does? Or how it feels on their skin? I think I'd play them this piece of music. First composed by Tchaikovsky in 1878, these rays of light have traveled through decade after decade, finally reaching your ears this very moment. You have also traveled far to get here today, but you're only passing through and should probably get going.
I'd like to tell you a story. It all happened to me when I was young, walking in a forest much like you are.
Those were days filled with boundaries and rules, of no running in the hallways, don't do this or that or the other.
With my world full of fierce discipline, I walked the forest to breathe.
One day, deep in the woods, I found
a fun-looking tree, crooked, old, and wrinkly. With little work, a few bits of bark became huge ships. Calm creeks turned to ferocious oceans.
I can still recall the people I imagined dragged downstream.
With a sense of guilt.
As I gazed back upon the old tree, I noticed something peculiar.
It was crying.
Every crumple, like eyes closed tightly. Clear drops streaming silently down its wrinkly skin.
So I did as children do.
Tasted it. Not because it looked tasty, but to figure out
What it was. The first drop made my tongue tingle.
The second made it prickle. And the very moment the third landed on my tongue, a profound sensation
Spread through my chest. Undefinable, like thirst.
Both vague and specific. One thing was clear. Something
was
changing
within me. I remember
breathing in and out,
feeling the fire.
The following day, I woke to a slight prickle in my fingertips.
I studied them closely, discovering circular ridges
in a foreign landscape of my sin.
The prickling
soon slipped my attention. It would be another week until it returned.
a wave of gentle needles moving over my skin.
A limb falling asleep, perhaps? I did not stop
worrying until it returned
For the third time. First making its way up my neck, before engulfing my skull
completely from behind. I could even feel the tiny needles covering my eyeballs. But it did not stop there.
I held my breath
as the small thorns crawled around my lips before spreading into my lungs and stomach.
My awareness spread with it, and I remembered the strange sensation of my mushy dinner in there, as if it held its remains in the palm
Of my hand.
Suddenly, my body took control and opened my mouth. An explosion of air rushed into my lungs.
The tinglings spread with it through an endless web of veins.
soon reaching my beating heart. For a moment I stood in awe of the activity within my body.
My body. I felt my heart beating faster, and my skin sweating.
Your body is your only vessel in this world. And when it misbehaves,
The claustrophobia is total.
Seek help.
I thought. And at that very moment,
The tiny needles shot from my brain down my spine. I felt them scatter through my upper leg, where muscles contracted to lift
my knee. My body weight shifted forward, and a shockwave spread from the foot sole
as it landed softly on the ground.
The
The
process
process
repeated
repeated itself in greater
details
detail
for
for
every step. I was overwhelmed,
but my body.
Kept moving. I did not at all feel like the boss giving directions.
It all happened automatically, and I simply along.
for the ride. Like you.
The doctor's office was cold and white. Crossing the floor felt like a polar expedition. My parents' distant features of the landscape.
I wanted to explain, but was unable.
My lips and tongue engaged in an intricate choreography, myself in the audience observing the words performed. My lips muttered,
I'm sure it will pass. While my thoughts were crying for help.
attention. Instead, I was following the hands of the clock.
Mounted on the doctor's wall.
They were both speeding up.
And slowing down.
I was slipping further and further away.
A levitating camera in a video game, merging with the code it was running on.
Again, with the binary, with the electronic circuit, and so on.
I closed my eyes and let my sensations
Lead me. First, I spent some time with my bones.
Among their many functions, I got lost in their continuous breathing.
an uninterrupted flow of calcium absorbed
and released. Even my skeleton was
alive and living in and of itself. I could feel my mind
clinging to the known, to the clattering thoughts,
the buzzing of memories and fears of the future.
But through each breath, tension was released,
and my shoulders sunk comfortably.
It had certainly felt like I was in there, somewhere behind my face. But I was nowhere to be found.
And the more I looked, the more
Easy I became.
Eventually opened, they felt as slow as a sunrise.
photons converted
The neural signals shooting along the optic nerve.
Each carrying a piece of information into the darkness.
The brain categorized motion,
color, edges,
Distance. I sat for a moment in the dusk.
watching the sunrise.
When the world eventually lit up, I was no longer wondering why matter lights up
from the inside. My experience had changed from the fire to the light.
It emits. But it would get much stranger still.
As the moment stretched, I started daydreaming.
Or
Also,
so I thought.
it began as a shimmering field creeping slowly in from the
periphery of my vision.
The hands of the clock, still moving.
But among them, vague shapes. Slowly but surely, I saw trees.
Blowing past me.
And among them, myself.
Sitting right there in the doctor's office.
With a vacant expression.
While walking around myself, I was surprised
To still see the clock straight ahead.
Myself from the side, the clock on the wall.
The
the two images were not overlapping. They just
coexist. Did like imagining a familiar place with your eyes closed and you see both nothing and something at the same time.
I turned to look towards myself. but saw only the face
of the doctor,
lingering somewhere between confusion, concern, and remorse.
However, when I studied his face closer,
I was struck by terror.
the image of myself had turned to look
Straight into my own eyes.
I felt my own hand reach out towards myself.
The weight of my hand landing softly on my shoulder. Eyes distant.
Looking at the doctor, looking at myself. Rules and boundaries disappearing.
The fire was spreading. A delicate wave of
nostalgia
Washing over me.
Intimate recollections of past sorrow, relationships, education, and even
medical experience. And at last,
I was no longer alone.
Not in the sense that the doctor was there in the room, but rather
that we were together in the darkness of my mind.
A vast number of sensations were still flowing, but now with two observers to share the burden.
somewhere, out of sight, a hand picked me up.
And as I kept breathing, the fire kept spreading.
Soon, it swallowed my parents, sitting in their chairs,
doubting my story.
I felt contradicting opinions and ideas coexist, but not in conflict.
Different notes in harmonious chords,
shaping a balanced, indivisible whole.
More clouds spread into my vision,
and more sensations through my body.
The music was evolving.
I looked at my hand.
5 fingers against the surface felt no different than 5 bodies.
Or minds. Branches becoming aware that they were connected
to the same trunk all along.
Their experience my own, all of them present in my mind. The prickling kept spreading. Each needle on my skin, another presence in my mind.
More and more observers sharing the burden. A vast number of sensations
flowing.
My world, like musical sunlight,
just passing through. Every individual
going about their business.
Strangers on the street, unaware that they were all each other, their surroundings, and me.
I knew and felt them all as I knew and felt myself.
And I could no longer feel contempt, or that anyone was
somehow less deserving. There was no longer me and you, no us versus them. It was all just me.
As I kept breathing in
and out, each new breath
pushed me along a ubiquitous landscape that was simply
too beautiful to ignore. What lay past each tree and beyond every hill was another
idea I knew to be true.
Mountains, transient shadows of matter,
Flowing through time, slowly from
one point of view, but for the mountain itself, oh boy, it's in a hurry, like everyone else.
Both the whirlpool and the stream,
an expression of energy floating through empty space.
all experiences merging to one.
There I was, all of us, you, me, I.
The light that shines through the film.
All else is smoke and mist.
As with all stories, this one also
ends. Not because the story has an ending,
but because it keeps moving, leaving us behind.
My body kept living like yours will, with surfaces preserving its illusion of separateness.
This screen, our very own eyes.
I couldn't tell if I ascended or dissolved.
I'm soaring through space,
but unable to move, nevertheless. And as I turn
in orbit, the
boundary between light and dark keeps moving. A cascading wave of thoughts arriving at dawn.
Just to slip away at dusk.
An energy field fumbling in the dark,
Trying to describe myself. I want to be safe. Well fed, not too warm, not too cold. To be acknowledged by my closest.
So even though you are another part of me looking back,
You will always be a stranger. A lump of resources
and my exploitation. The branches cut.
Our hemispheres separated once again. Rocks skipping on the surface.
The inconsistent dash of beauty between the noise, picked up by the stranger with good intentions, and with it,
Sentenced to die. I don't care who you are,
Or how you found me.
but we are both reaching in. A few lonely rays
venturing through space in just the right direction.
Absorbed in our leaves, stored as sweet sugars, and exhaled as crisp
and clean oxygen.
And while the light warms our skin, or while we wait for the next sunrise, we breathe in
and out.
All that matters is that you are here, right now.
And for a moment, we are together. You and me.
As one.
Like we always are. And we always will be.